All right, YouTube. This Detroit's HPTV coming to you out of Detroit this Monday morning. Back with some interesting topics. It's been a frenzy in the news over Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy and MAGA. And the left is having a feeding frenzy because they see division. You know, their thing was already conquering divide to be calling Elon Musk the president as if Trump was subservient to him, which was not going to work, because Trump is too older of a man to fall off into, you're going to hurt my ego by trying to elevate somebody who can never be president above me. You can call Elon Musk the president all you want to. He can never be president of the United States. He was born in South Africa. But the firestorm is Vic Ramaswamy. Now, me personally, I think Vic Ramaswamy got his Indian wake up call. Yeah, I said it right. He effed around and found out that he was the wrong messenger for how he was delivering that message. And he has a tendency to talk down as if he's some educated person. And, there's a literacy problem with the people of the United States. So he messed around and found out. And MAGA is giving him the business as they should. But the difference between the Democrats and the conservatives and MAGA over there is they have a voice and they're holding their leadership accountable. See, they're not marching anybody out there that's senile and got dementia, and they're not pushing those anti God and anti country politics. They checking Ramaswamy as they should. No matter how you feel about the topic of HB1, it's debatable. You know what I mean? Do you want the best scientists like Albert Einstein, or do you want to pause and educate your own and invest more in the educational infrastructure of the United States? Is there time? What's the pressing issue? All those things are debatable, and the debate is on. And you have to watch your rhetoric, or you will be called to the carpet on what it is that you say. And that's what's happening with Vivek Ramaswamy. Elon Musk, as usual, is being obstinate. He's the richest man in the world. He said what he said. What you going to do about it? But at the end of the day, he doesn't run the country. We, the people, run the country. See, if you've been a member of this channel, if you're an actual member, you come over here, we use the term we, the people. You know what I'm saying? And we are patriots. We not scary. See, I have a problem with these people that's always fear mongering. I can't stand the fear mongering. Let me give you a quick story about my life with fear mongering. When I was in the third grade, I used to go to Cortland Elementary School. And I used to be bullied. I was never a big guy, so I used to get bullied. And it was just one bully. He used to always threaten me what he was going to do to me after school. And I'd take off running. He'd chase me home from school. Chased me one day so bad I ran past my father who was picking me up for work. My father had got off work early and was picking me up from school. I ran so fast, I ran past him and his car. Yeah. And he seen it. So when I did get home, he told me, don't you be getting chased home from school. No more. You better fight. And I was scared because I told you the bully had been fear mongering me, telling me what he was going to do. He used to always tell me all kind of ways he was going to beat the hell out of me. You know what I mean? From drop kicks to judo chops. It was always a threat. So I was more afraid of my father than him. And I had this Superman lunchbox. And it came with the thermos, the big thermos when we was kids. My mother used to always make me lunch and put me some juice in the thermos. So when we went to Cortland, we had to stand in the courtyard before you go into school, and you had to line up. So before we lined up, I seen the bully. I don't really want to say his name because he's still around, but I seen the bully, and I knew that when we lined up, I was going to get behind him, and I was going to hit him in the head with this metal lunchbox with this heavy thermos in it. Yeah, I made up my mind. That's what I was going to do. I'm going to hit him in the head with this thermos as soon as we get in line. And I'm not going to tell him. I'm not going to tell anybody. This was my secret. I'm going to hit you in the head with this lunchbox with this heavy thermos in it, and I'm going to see if you can still beat me up. So the teacher calls time to come in the building, and we lined up, and he was standing in front of me, and I reared back, and I whacked him across the back of his head with the lunchbox, with the thermos in it. It was metal. Remember the old kind? So it split his head. I didn't mean to do all that. So they took me in the office, called my mother. She had to come back, pick me up. Of course, she told me, well, you know, when your father get home, you're going to get a whooping. So I waited all day till he got home. He asked me, why did I hit the guy with the lunchbox? I told him he had been bullying me. He had been threatening me. So I hit him with my lunchbox. My father said, go outside and play. Now, I'm telling you this story to say that me, as a man, I don't know what kind of men raised you guys to where you can be fear mongered and threatened into oblivion. They gonna do this. They gonna make you pick cotton. They gonna put you in chains. You know, Joe Biden told you they gonna put you back in chains. They're gonna put you in concentration camp. What are you gonna be doing when they doing all that? That's all I'm saying. Because I'm not picking no cotton, and you're not putting me in chains. Not without a fight. So the fear mongering gets to the point to where it's just cowardice. Like, who you think you're talking to? Cowards. And that's what you get from the left. From them Democrats, you get a whole lot of cowards talking. And they got a whole lot of women that take the front line and running their mouth. And we're not going to inauguration. And we're going to do this. And they standing behind them women over there running their party who are feminizing their sons and feminizing the whole educational system with tampons in the boys' bathrooms. And they Luciferian and nefarious policies. And they still want to come out and talk about conservative men. See, I know what it is. Those guys over there, those are the ones who were raised by their moms. They were raised by their moms. And there's nothing wrong with being raised by your mom, I guess. But I was raised by my father and my grandfather. So I look at fear mongering differently. Don't threaten me. I will take you to lunch if you threaten me. Now, we're going to get back to the topic at hand. Vivek Ramaswamy, Elon Musk. Now, they said what they said, and the media is having a field day with it. What is Trump saying? Trump ain't paying it no mind because at the end of the day, he is the president elect. MAGA voted him in. The conservatives voted him in. They're going to get the last say. They are not like the puppets and the weaklings on the left. So Ramaswamy is getting it buttocks handed to him for his flippant statement as it relates to Americans and immigration. Now, do we think he wants to flood the market with his Indian, Hindu brethren? Maybe. That's what he wanted to do. But he kind of tipped his hand. So we looking at him and we say, okay, we with the best of the best, but don't bring no bunch of people from India over here, Vivek. We trying to get rid of these Venezuelans right now, and we trying to get rid of these Guatemalans, and we trying to get rid of all the rest of these illegals. So don't you try to slide no intelligentsia up under our belt under the guise of they better engineers when they may just be more elitists coming over here looking down their nose at people. So Vic is getting it handed to him. Elon is doing what Elon do. But at the end of the day, they keep recognizing that it's MAGA country. So I want you to watch this clip. This is MSNBC, the left. And I want you to watch their take on the situation because you've heard mine. And you can see why the Democratic Party is finished, kaput, over with, done with. Finish him. You want to see. So this is for fair usage under the 1976 Copyright Act, education and commentary. And I'm standing on the First Amendment with it.
War has broken out in MAGA land between anti-immigrant diehards on one side and unelected policy influencers like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy on the other. Musk and Ramaswamy want the U.S. to continue giving visas to skilled immigrants who have been a crucial part of the Silicon Valley workforce. Other far-right MAGA folks say that those jobs should go to Americans, not foreigners, especially not brown foreigners. I always say on the air, I'm not interested in palace intrigue and MAGA food fights and personality tiffs on Twitter/X don't move me. But one argument really did jump out to me for its hypocrisy, and it came from Ramaswamy. In a long post, he says, quote, "The reason top tech companies often hire foreign-born and first-generation engineers over Native Americans comes down to culture. Culture that venerates Corey from Boy Meets World, or Zack and Slater over Screech and Saved by the Bell, or Stefan over Steve Urkel in Family Matters will not produce the best engineers. More movies like Whiplash, fewer reruns of Friends, more math tutoring, fewer sleepovers, more weekend science competitions, fewer Saturday morning cartoons, more books, less TV, more creating, less chilling, more extracurriculars, less hanging out at the mall." Let's ignore for a minute that this sounds like the rant of an angry incel on Rumble, who despite his success today is still mad about getting rejected for the prom by a cheerleader in high school. It's also completely wrong.
Now, this guy, what he just said about Vivek is typical leftist propaganda crap. And he's contemptible and disingenuous what he says. I'm going to speak for my community, Black community. Education has not been supported the way it should. You can tell by how much money we spend on Gucci, Prada, cars, and everything else, and how little we invest in our children going to college, the school system, or anything else. We can tell that. The education has been secondary in our culture. That's obvious because look at what we do and how we spend our money. See, how you spend your money tells you what's important. How many parents do you actually know personally that when their child is born, they start putting money away for their child to go to college? How many of our children aspire to play basketball, aspire to rap, or aspire to be celebrities versus doctors, engineers, and lawyers? What's the statistic on that? Ask your children what do they want to be when they grow up and see what they tell you. Vivek Ramaswamy is just the wrong messenger.
And somewhat racist and a very myopic view of American culture. Foreign-born first-generation engineers are popular with tech companies because they are cheaper than American employees and have fewer employment rights. That's not a culture issue. That's an economics issue. Next, as someone who's been both Steve Urkel and Stefan Urkel in his life, let me update Vivek on nerdy cultural icons that everyone actually likes. Like, at least
you hear this guy. This guy is, I mean, he's, to me, and I immediately don't like him because he's never genuine in this debate. He's a Democratic shield, a puppet. He toes the line. He will never deviate. You know what I mean? You can look at this channel, you can say, well, maybe I'm conservative, but I agree with the fact that they're handing Ramaswamy his butt because he's too flippant. And a lot of times when you're flippant, it hints a little bit of disrespect to the American people, to the patriots, to the bench that's been here. You know what I mean? I can say that. I can feel that way. I can trace my family all the way back to 1806. So I've been around in America for a while. So it is distasteful for a foreigner to come over here telling us our shortcomings. You know what I mean? It's like somebody come over your house and they get to try to run your house, and they're a guest. That's what it is in a nutshell. So we're gonna keep it real. And I'm only speaking like this because I've seen a lot of my subscribers that were adamant about how they felt about what he said, and I could see that they were looking at it from the same lens, but they were being emotional in their response to it. Of course, he misspoke and he's speaking out of turn, and he done messed around and found out, like, okay, you still a first generation Indian tech guy or whatever. You don't get the right to point out our shortcomings. You don't get to pick the speck of wood in our eye when you got a beam in your eye. Because if that's the case, why don't you go over to India and uplift India? I mean, that could be said as well.
Lisa Simpson, or Sheldon from Big Bang Theory, Hermione Granger from Harry Potter, the whole cast of 6 seasons of Silicon Valley. Pharrell Williams was dropping rap and hip hop albums for 4 years as Nerd. Not to mention Tony Stark, Peter Parker, and Black Panther's brilliant sister and top scientist in Wakanda, Shuri. Maybe the issue isn't that Americans don't like nerds, Vivek. Maybe.
What is wrong with MSNBC and their pundits? He just showed you all fictitious characters. Wakanda, Iron Man, and he think he cooking. He think he is pushing the narrative. Let's listen to some more.
People just didn't like you. And what greater validation could there be of how our culture supports education than the announcement by Yahoo Sports just yesterday that singer-songwriter Shabuzi will be performing at the Scripps National Spelling Bee. Take that, jocks. Joining us now to discuss, Tim Miller is a...
Is this even a grown man? He says Shabuzi, whatever that is performing at the spelling bee. Take that. Take that, MAGA.
Former spokesperson for the RNC. He is writer-at-large for The Bulwark. And Wajah Ali is co-host of the podcast Democracy-ish and editor of The Left Hook on Substack. Wajah, I'll start with you. I just want to read an excerpt of your column sort of about this internal battle. One of the most pathetic creatures in the MAGA universe is the person of color who truly believes that all of their prostrations to Trump, shameless parroting of right-wing propaganda, indulgence in racist conspiracies, and delusional...
These Negroes, they be talking about people of color that's conservative as if they haven't been torn a line for Jim Crow Joe, Super Predator Joe. They're going to put you back in chains, Joe. If you don't vote for me, you ain't Black Joe. Crime Bill Joe. Senator Thurman's best friend Joe. Open Borders Joe. I'm going to give you free drug paraphernalia Joe. Dixiecrat Joe. Democratic Plantation. The same ones who fought against the Republic to maintain slavery, created the Ku Klux Klan, Jim Crow, and redlining. And they got this buffoon talking about conservative people of color. Wow.
Adherence to the model minority stereotypes will finally earn the love and admiration of the base, which is forged from grievance, rage, and adherence to white supremacy. Bars. Wajahat, give me your general take of what we've seen over the last couple of days. I tried to be very subtle. Face-eating leopards enjoys eating faces, especially those that are brown, because they're extra exotic and flavorful. This was inevitable. This MAGA civil war between, immigrant MAGA versus nativist MAGA. And Vivek Ramaswamy is indeed a pathetic creature, a dweeb, like you mentioned, who, despite a life of privilege, becoming a billionaire, becoming, wealthy, still cannot get over the fact that.
Wow. A dweeb? What? They roasting Vivek. And he getting roasted by MAGA. But I told you, Vivek gives that condescending foreigner vibe to me. You know what I mean? And he overstepped his boundaries. And I guess he food in the water. Whatever he had planned is over with. They got the high beam light on it. You know what I mean? They got the telescope, the binoculars, the microscope, everything. Whatever he thought he was going to do won't get done because he got all eyes on him like Tupac.
He was rejected and holds the MAGA base, much like Musk, with contempt, right? This is what's so clear here, is that the 1% represented by Ramaswamy, Musk, despite everything they've been given in life, are still miserable, look down upon American culture, American workers, as contemptible fools. That's a quote from Elon Musk. Elon Musk retweeted a post where someone was saying, basically, this is a fight between the tech bros and MAGA, and the tech bros think that American workers are the R word, and Musk agreed with it. So I want MAGA voters to really look at this for a second. The people that they put in charge, the billionaires, look at them with contempt, look at the culture with contempt, and furthermore, people like Vivek Ramaswamy.
Let me correct this idiot again. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy aren't in charge. Donald Trump is. And as of right now, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris is still the president. At least that's what I thought.
Swami, Nikki Haley, Harmeet Dillon. Look what they make you give, to quote Born Identity. Another nerd movie, right? A nerdy brawler, Matt Damon. Look at what they make you give. They make you hate yourselves. They make you prostrate to Musk, to Trump, to racist conspiracies. You not only don't love yourself, they don't love you. And I want to end my rant with the following. According to a book written by Peter Baker and Susan Glasser on Trump, Trump looked at Nikki Haley when he was thinking about having her as Secretary of State and said, she has the wrong complexion. It won't be good for me. And I want Vivek to remember that Ann Coulter openly told him, I'll never vote for you because you're Indian. So this is what we're dealing with. A MAGA culture rooted in white supremacy that will always reject a Vivek and a Nikki who thought they were the model minorities, who worked really hard, and who dump on black people, poor people, immigrants of color, and refugees. And look what it's got them. It's got them this. A civil war.
That Democratic side is full of slaves and debaucherous people. You can look at them. You listen to how they talk. They so gleeful and despicable with their righteous indignation. Their self-righteousness is repugnant when they just ran a whole policy and agenda against God and country. Is anybody even still listening to the left for real? They lost the House, the Senate, the presidency, and the Supreme Court. I guess right now they just talking for likes and views, getting their money up.
Laura Loomer, Cernovich, and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Stephen Miller. I hope they eat each other. I'll have the popcorn with some paprika and butter on it. Tim, you were actually involved in that tweet, sort of with the R word, and I think it's telling, not just because of the sort of disingenuous nature of a lot of these arguments, but as
what the hell is the R word? I mean, I think I got it. I mean, which R word? Because I mean, everything has been censored. He, she, pronouns. I don't know. We so sick of the left. Our word.
As Wash was just saying, the sort of disdain with which these unelected individuals who have policy influence have for the actual voters. Talk a little bit about how that can be a problem going forward, because
Talk a little bit about how you just said they were unelected. So if they're unelected, they really don't have any power. Influence does not equal power unless the people are actually influenced. You know, I can have influence, but if it's rejected, it's nothing. Didn't y'all see that Beyonce came out there with her influence and tried to get people to vote for Kamala? Megan Stallion twerked for Kamala with her influence, and Kamala still lost. Oprah, with her influence, came out, and Kamala still lost. Magic Johnson, and the list goes on. They all had influence, and she still lost. Wow.
what Vivek Ramaswamy wants to say, and Elon Musk wants to say, ends up having consequences for people who actually have to go out and get votes in the Republican Party. Isn't that a bit of a problem?
Yeah. It is, and just to be clear, I was involved in that tweet with the R word in the sense that I was making fun of it during a lengthy chain that people don't need to understand all the players in, because you got to be deep online MAGA lore to understand who's on what side of this fight. And it really was unfortunate. I think that Corey from Boy Meets World caught strays in this whole disagreement. But look, it is funny that we've gotten to this place. To your question of whether it hurts them with voters, well, I mean, we just had an election, so it won't be for a while. But it does show that there was like an overthrow of the old Republican Guard, which I was once a part of many years ago now, almost a decade ago now. The Chamber of Commerce Republican Guard, the one that wanted compassionate conservatism, the one that wanted was pro-immigration. You go back and watch Reagan and Bush debates, and they're talking about how great immigration is. Reagan's final speech as president was about how important immigration is to the country. The Republican voters didn't want that, and they overthrew those leaders, the McCains and the Romneys, and the Kochs and the billionaire class, and they thought that they had found some new billionaires that were aligned with them in the culture war, because Elon Musk and all these other guys, these other tech bros, will go along with them on a lot of the culture war fights that don't affect them. They'll go after trans people, they'll go after the Hunter Biden laptop, they'll go after Fauci, those sorts of things, but on this immigration issue, this is something that affects their bottom line. It affects their companies. It affects them personally. Many of them are immigrants. And so now, all of a sudden, the voters are realizing, these MAGA voters, that they've just traded one set of rich guys that did not agree with their preferred policies when it comes to immigration for another set. And I think that is at the crux of this. And I do think that if Trump sticks with the Silicon Valley crowd, which it seems like he very well might, because he likes the attention, he likes the fact that they're famous, I do think it will create problems within the voting base, because this is their core issue. It is the immigration issue. You might call it nativism. The support for American workers over foreign workers. This is if MAGA is about anything, it's about.
No, don't back away from the fact that we didn't want you giving gender reassignment to children. Don't forget that on the left. That we didn't want tampons in the boys' bathroom. That we didn't want taxpayer money going to get sex changes and gender reassignment to prisoners. It was a whole lot on that side that the voters didn't want. Not just immigration.
And so I think that this is not just a Christmas week kerfuffle. This is going to be a long-term dispute within the coalition.
One of the other things in this, and you sort of make reference to it, Tim's made reference to it as well, is also sort of a cultural blindness that the Republicans seem to have, despite winning a close election and everything else like that. I was caught by the irony of Vivek Ramaswamy basically bringing up this sort of model minority myth, right? And complaining that, there's too much, kids spend too much time watching TV and parents should have them doing work. But he makes that point with nothing but cultural references from 30 years ago. If they actually want to have an influence in the culture, isn't it also important that the people who are at the head of these culture battles know something about what Americans are doing now? Or are they sort of proud of the fact that he's lost with where the heartbeat of America really is today? Well, that's exactly it. They're so out of touch. They're out.
I'm at the 30-minute mark, so I'm gonna stop it right there. Clearly, he's lying. We know that children are more tied to their phones and laptops and tablets than anything else. Come on now, it's worse than it was 30 years ago. But as I stated before, Vivek Ramaswamy is the wrong person to speak on it, especially if he's trying to promote bringing other Indians to this country while America is having a major problem with immigrants right now. That's the elephant in the room. We don't trust none of you guys right now. You know, like, trust is out the window with politicians. We ain't even trusting our neighbors at this point. So let's keep it real. So tell me what you think. This is Monday morning again. We're gonna have an interesting week. You know what I mean? Like, share, and subscribe, support the channel because they still shadow banning and censoring. And this is Detroit's HPTV, signing to you out of Detroit. Support the nonprofit, which is Detroit's Black Thought and Action Collective. The Cash App is in the channel description. As always, salute to all the patriots and keep your head on the swivel. Peace. Like, share, and subscribe.